KCAA Radio and their very own Smart Health Talk are sponsoring a weekly plant sale. We want to help make new monarch memories with our children possible because you can't have monarch caterpillars without milkweed. Revisit that experience you had as a child, create new ones and share them, or just help monarch butterflies and their babies with what they need right now. Safe milkweed. Find us every Sunday from 11 to 5 p.m. in the Redlands Tri-City parking lot at 1378 Industrial Park Avenue. Expect to find milkweed and beautiful flowers that butterflies and hummingbirds love, all grown without chemicals or pesticides that can hurt butterflies and people too. Go to BlueMonarchProject.com for more information. Real facts, real lives, real science is what you get when you tune in to Smart Health Talk radio show every Tuesday at 4 o'clock. We want our listeners armed with the latest information no matter who we have to call out in the process. No corporate cloaking, no repeats of what you've already heard over and over. We bring what you're not getting from other shows. We're looking for what's having an impact on Americans' lives every day and into the future. I'm your host, Elaine McFadden. I'd like to invite you to learn with us. We're always there with podcasts and videos on KCAA YouTube and iHeartRadio, or live on KCAA Radio, 4 to 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time every Tuesday.
Welcome back to Smart Health Talk with your host, Elaine McFadden.
Welcome back, everyone, and we're going to continue that discussion that we were having about immigration, and that was part of our discussion from last week, and I wanted to lead into that because there were some things that I forgot to say last week that I wanted to elaborate on. And also, I want to, or kind of give you a different perspective. And also, I wanted to kind of sum everything up where we could kind of get down to the main points here, because obviously immigration is taking over the airways. Everyone's talking about it, which is a good thing. I grew up in a border town in Chula Vista. Yeah, right down by the border. So I grew up at a time when people were living in Tijuana and working on the other side of the border, and they'd go back home to Tijuana at night. And so that was a whole different situation. When they started tightening up on the borders, people started getting afraid, and they started thinking they had to stay here to keep their job, because some people could have invested in a job for like years and gained seniority, good amount of, per hour. And the thing is, it's actually immigrants that are illegal, that are paying all kinds of taxes and getting nothing back from it. They're paying it as Social Security, they're paying taxes in their paycheck, working jobs. They get none of those benefits. And yet we criticize them for getting any kind of benefits when they're paying into a program that they never get to see anything from. So let's keep that in mind. And we really should, the main question we should be asking is, why are people fleeing and where are they from? Okay, they are, and we know that President Trump's going down there. Where these people are from? Well, I'm really wondering about that. They are actually from different places. Mexico, Guatemala, El Salvador, and Honduras. It's not an accident or coincidence that these people are fleeing from these areas, okay? And what it comes down to is policies, and they're running because of policies, and they're also running from what we did while we were there. It's policy or war related, bottom line. And how does that involve us? Okay, first of all, why Mexicans' policy of drug war that creates cartels and a violence of that system. That is the problem. Mexican policy of drug war that has created the cartels and the violence of that system. Mexican cartels, okay? Now, how do those happen? Okay, we're going to go into that a little bit. Guatemala, that was an example of war and policy. And then in Guatemala in the 50s, we overthrew a leader. It was a coup launched by the U.S. to install a military dictatorship, which ensued chaos in that country for about 68 years now because of our interference in their government, taking out their guy and putting in a military dictatorship. So along with that and the Mexican cartels, which are dealing in drugs, because what do we have? We have a high profit item that is in big demand, and it's a very expensive product. That's why it's high profit. So we have supply and demand. Well, Mexico, South America, they got the supply. We got the demand. That's right. Us here in the U.S., we got big time demand. So, do we need a drug war? That's the big question. Because it's actually bad in all respects. And it doesn't work. How do we know this? Well, the numbers haven't changed, people. The numbers are still the same as far as like how many drugs people are doing. Because you know what? We like our drugs in the U.S. That's right. We like to get high. We like to party here. So who's going to supply those drugs? Do we want the cartels to be supplying the drugs? Because we don't even know how they're making it. We don't know about the safety of it. There's no regulation making sure you're getting safe stuff. Is there? Heck no. You really don't have any idea what you're putting in your body. Okay? Plus, it's great for the drug companies, right? Because as long as we're in a drug war and not having these drugs legal, that means people are turning to prescription drugs instead of things like marijuana. And they've been fighting this for a long time because they know that's what happens. And it's exactly what's happened. And people think, oh, the use is going to go up. No, it's not going to go up because they already proved in Colorado it didn't. It actually went down. And in Portugal, where they legalized all kinds of drugs, we proved the very same thing, that when you legalize drugs, and I mean even cocaine, heroin, they legalized it all, use goes down. And guess what? They tax it. So there's all kinds of extra money that would normally be going to the cartels are now going to the government. And they also decriminalized drug use. In other words, no life sentences for, as the Kim Kardashian woman got, no life sentences, though there were other things in there, but I know there are people that are getting like 25, 30 years for marijuana. And we're paying to keep those people in there. So we have a very expensive prison system that, guess what? All that prison money, which is like private companies, is what it's going to, is now can be used for rehabilitation and helping people with a drug problem. And plus we're collecting the taxes on it. And now we have decriminalized it, and we have made it safer. And guess what? We've also made it harder for kids to get their hands on it. And you're like, wait a minute. How hard is it for a person that is underage to get alcohol? It's actually pretty hard. You got to find someone to buy that for you. But drugs? Easy peasy. Find it just about anywhere. You can get drugs anywhere. That's what happens when you legalize. What happened with prohibition? Hard to get. People getting tainted alcohol, dying from it, permanent damage from it. Run by what? Mobsters. Just like we mentioned earlier. This is the system. We are responsible for the system. And until we take responsibility for our demand for drugs and the fact that we are launching this drug war, which has made Monsanto very rich because they're going down in these places, spraying Roundup on coca leaves even, and indigenous people live there and grow their food there, and it is killing them at the same time. And now, they're just trying to make us feel guilty about things like, you should be, I'm sorry, I was just thinking about a Zika thing that I just read, because we covered Zika as well. We're going to talk about it a little bit later, but I read an article where they're trying to make people, shame people. If you don't get this vaccine and a woman gets microcephaly with her baby, it's all your fault. I don't have any proof that that's even happening. I have proof that pesticides cause microcephaly. But anyway, it just, the manipulation. You know, personally, I hate lies. I hate lies with a passion. And when I think someone is being any less than truthful to me, trying to tell me something that's going to affect my life and other people's lives, because that's why we're here today with Smart Health Talk on this show. It's because of you and to save your life and to make your life safer, which includes the environment you live in, the water you drink, the food you eat, the air you breathe. And whether you even love your job or not. Are you happy in your job? Most people, no. Service jobs. Yeah, we got a big old party going right now. The rich are having a big old party, but the rest of us are still there serving them. Our lives have not really changed any, and the opportunities, I don't see where those have changed. But maybe I'm wrong. I will look for the proof that I am wrong, because that's what I do. I look for both ways. And when you think you're being lied, you need to start fact-checking. People are not following up. They're just taking whatever is being told to them. I don't care who tells it to you. Go check. Do your research. Until we start taking responsibility for the things we're saying, too. Are you posting stuff on Facebook that you checked out first? I am. Okay, I made a couple mistakes along the line, but that taught me I need to check even harder. I'm not going to go around spreading rumors and information that is untrue because, like I said, hate lies. And I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to make sure you are getting the absolute truth to the best of my ability. So we know those cartel people, they're violent, and that comes along with the delegalization of drugs, the illegalization of drugs. We have no regulations. It just empowers criminals. Society goes to hell, which is exactly what happened during Prohibition. And that's where the cartels own everything. They own the politicians. They own the cops. And John F. Kennedy, his father was in that system. He made money during Prohibition selling illegal liquor, and sure, he was owning the cops, owning the politicians, whatever it took to stay in business. So I'm please asking you to open your mind, understand where some of these people have come from, because a lot of it is our making. Now, we're going to be having a couple of other things that I wanted to announce. Let's see. Let me get to my list here. Let's see. Ozone layer, they're like, oh, well, we still have a problem with the ozone layer. It's not healing like it should be. And everyone's trying to blame China. Let's blame China. Oh, yeah, they're still using these products that they shouldn't be using. They didn't know there was an alternative. It's cheaper even, but they're still using it. But I'm telling you, it is not all China. The house next door to me was tented with Vicane, which is a chemical weapon. It's organophosphate, and that's also depleting my thyroid. Everyone else around there is thyroid. They release the gas into the air instead of trapping it and capturing it. I don't know why they don't require them to trap it and capture it. And then it came over into my yard and destroyed massive amounts of the leaves on my plants. All got some weird looking spots on it. And I went and looked it up. Sure enough, Vicane damage. Who's going to pay for my damaged plants is what I want to know. Is my neighbor going to pay for that? Is the Terminex company going to pay for that? Is my insurance company going to pay for that? Their insurance company. Who's going to pay for my damaged plants? Because I know without a doubt Terminex is going to totally deny everything. But if it did that to the plants, what is it doing to my lungs, to my body, to my eyes, to my thyroid, which it attacks? Vicane attacks it, and it also destroys the ozone layer, and that's why all kinds of environmental groups have been trying to get rid of it. And we want to say to Supervisor Sears up in Marin County, who is fighting with a lawsuit along with several other cities against the oil companies for sea level rise, which is going to cost them billions as a city to build retaining walls to try to protect property. lost, they said, oh, well, the oil companies shouldn't be penalized for what we are demanding from them. Oh, and just like America's demanding drugs, right? The immigrants shouldn't be punished because we're demanding drugs and the cartels have taken over. Well, the oil companies shouldn't be punished because we demanded gas for our cars. When we wanted electric cars, they destroyed the electric car. Watch the documentary, Who Killed the Electric Car? Every single electric car was hunted down, with Jamie Lee Curtis owning the last one hidden in a garage, and they hunted that one down and destroyed it. They destroyed every single electric car. And back in the 80s, they purposely bought all the solar panel patents. Any solar patents were, they were destroyed, they were bought up, and then they would not manufacture anything. So these are the kind of things that we should be looking at the big picture. All right? Okay, I have to write one quick note here to Tiffany. Okay, and anyway, so the ozone, Vicane, there are alternatives. Bed bugs, you can use heaters. They heat to like 200 degrees. And yeah, it's using some electricity, but it's not destroying the ozone, and it's not destroying your body. These pesticides that we're spraying in our yards, there are many times there are alternatives to what the Terminex guy is going to sell you. We've had Richard Fagerlin, Ask the Bug Man. Just type in Ask the Bug Man. I found a great article he wrote on termites, the different alternatives that we have to termites. There are alternatives. We have it bad here in Southern California, but we don't have to keep tending our house for bed bugs and these other things with a chemical weapon. And I don't want to be in a house that's just had that gas in it. Who wants to be in that? Who wants their neighbor to be gassing them with just like when we see the chemical weapon gas supposedly being used on other people, actually sarin gas, you die in 1 to 10 minutes. So that's an organophosphate, which is what this pesticide is that we are using to tend our houses with. So I just, wanted to let you guys know that. Okay, what's next on our list? Are you trying to Skype Tiffany for me? Thank you. Okay, and wanted to get into that. Okay. And another little thing that I learned about Vicane. Methyl bromide, which we know causes cancer, they've been trying to phase it out. Well, a lot of people don't realize that their food is fumigated. Your food is fumigated before you get it. It could go through many types of fumigation. Methyl bromide, which we've been trying to get rid of, and I think they finally did because it's cancer causing, was used. Now they're using Vicane. And they fumigate your food in the silos. They fumigate it in warehouses. They fumigate it inside of semi-trucks, which I really have to question this fumigating inside semi-trucks because they'd have to be completely sealed and that gas would not have to leak. And I just wonder how many people have been unknowingly exposed to Vicane during this these semi-truck fumigations that they use on food, fresh food, everything from dates to wheat to beans. They're fumigating it. So it's getting not only all the pesticides they use while they grow it, but in the storage process as well. It's getting multiple applications. How do you avoid all that? Buy organic. That is the only thing that we have supported from day one, and we will continue to support because none of that is allowed with organic. Okay, we have Tiffany ready to, I don't see your picture.
Oh.
Oh, did you have to call in? Tiffany?
I don't know how, I don't know how I got here, but I'm here.
Oh, we don't have her on Skype?
Should I hang up and call back?
Uh,
Or can Brandon fix that?
oh, were you on, are you on your computer?
No point. I can
What?
I can hang up and call back.
Oh, okay. You need
Okay.
to turn your camera on. We
Okay.
can't see your lovely face.
I don't know how to. Okay, well, hold on. Wait.
Yeah, it'll be
Back.
under options somewhere probably. Everyone, this is Tiffany
Okay.
Anderson.
Hi.
While you're working on that, I'm going to give you a little intro here because we didn't even get a chance to do that, trying to get you on the air with your Skype, with the Skype so we can see you as you're talking. And everyone, you can tune into KCAA radio.com and you can watch Tiffany and I have this conversation, hopefully, if she finds the video. If you need if you need Blake to help you with that, he'll be glad to talk you through. Oh, you don't know? You don't know either. Okay.
Okay. Let me just call back. How about that?
Yeah, go ahead and
Okay.
call us back, and then we'll also bring in Andrew. Okay, that's okay. Okay, everyone. Tiffany's going to call back in. In the meantime, you still got me. And I just mentioned organic food. Oh. Our Blue Monarch project, I didn't tell you about that because it's been very exciting this week.
Cool.
We've actually released over 30 monarchs, and I have a bunch more. I've got at least 30 or 40 that we're still raising to become monarch butterflies. And bluemonarchproject.com is the website that you go to, and we have organic pesticide-free plants, milkweed, nectar plants that you can buy from us. Oh, there she is. Yay! All right,
Hey.
Tiffany. All right, we got you. We got you now.
Well, what are we going to talk about today?
Yeah, well, I had a list of things, and I was just talking about the Vicane. Have you ever worked with Vicane?
I have not. We do not fumigate. We adulticide, larvicide, herbicide, use aquaculture products, but we do not fumigate.
And that is when Tiffany says we don't, she means that was during her time at the San Joaquin Vector Department. She's now a whistleblower because of things that personally happened to her, things that she saw happen over the years as a pesticide applicator. And I'm just wondering, like, one of the big things in the news today, Tiffany, is that the court case is happening as far as Roundup and if it causes cancer or not. There's a man that got cancer. He sprayed Roundup on a regular basis and so was exposed over years and felt that that was a cause of his cancer. Is there a lot of fear? I mean, I would be scared every single day doing the job that you did.
You
as
have
a
to know
pesticide
what to be
applicator.
afraid of, and when you walk into an agency and you're very naive and you trust, so you walk in there and you're like, okay, they tell you these are the laws and these are the rules and this is I mean, you go in there naively and you don't, you trust them because they're your local government. And I did not walk in there with any fear of being poisoned. I had a fear of whether I would be capable of doing the job duties because I did not have any type of degree or certification to perform the duties. I was required to take a test, and I know that I didn't know the information that they were asking on it, but I did know that I was capable of learning anything that was brought to me. So initially, no, but now I'm very jaded. Some people would call me a conspiracy theorist. Now I believe there's a lot to be afraid of. And I don't know if you saw, Elaine, you were asking me about you kind of left the topic to be broad, and you were asking about injuries. You brought up some topics we could discuss. And so I pulled up I pulled up all the complaints that I filed or all the complaints that I researched and found. And probably the most telling was the one, I don't know if you got an opportunity to see it.
Yes, it was extremely upsetting.
Yeah, this one was mind-blowing to me because and the thing is that when you find this stuff on the internet, you have to pull it and retain it, because it has a way of getting lost. So so this was in North, what let me see, let me get my bearings here. I found this on the inspection information for OSHA was in 2013, April 4th of 2014. It was Salem County Mosquito Control, and it says Salem, New Jersey. And what the summary was a worker found asphyxiated in a stream. On April 3rd, 2013, an employee was working for Salem County Mosquito Control in New Jersey, and he was found face down and unconscious in a stream by a coworker. He was asphyxiated. Then it says inspection 1, and then degree of fatality, nature asphyxiation, occupation not reported. And you know, that's very telling of my job title. I was labeled, and the pesticide applicators are not labeled with the state of California as pesticide applicators. They are reported as Tech 1s. So Tech 1 does not really say a lot about the job description. You know, like if I go to the doctor and they say, well, what's your job duty? I'm a Tech 1. Well, Tech 1 could be a computer operator. Tech 1 could be anything.
Yeah, that's very vague. And I actually spoke to a resident who is in the process of, you know, he just finished school, medical school, and there was absolutely no training on pesticides whatsoever in medical school. So they have no training to detect even a pesticide poisoning case.
Sure. Well, you know, the one thing that they should know are the laws that govern pesticides, because California, they have written very stringent laws. They're just not applied. So the purpose of these laws are, I guess, only for bureaucracy, you know, to generate revenue, not actually to protect people, but just to generate revenue. So I did find some things. So our workers' comp attorneys are the same entity that governs our sexual harassment and our risk management. So the people who handle our negotiations and our these attorneys that handle the sexual harassment, they also handle our workers' comp.
That is so wrong. That is so wrong, Tiffany. How intimidating is that?
Well, this is what happened to me. So it's called Bickmore Risk Services, IRMA. They're called Acclimation Insurance Management. And so our manager had told us in a meeting, he had given us a whistleblower hotline, and he said, if you ever have a complaint about me, he said, you call this hotline. And so I did call that hotline, and it went directly to him. And his attorney, Chris Ely, called me up, and I was injured. I was off on a knee surgery, and so I had a knee injury that was induced by them telling me I wasn't working hard enough or fast enough or quick enough, and I tore my meniscus, and I was out waiting for surgery, and I told the manager, I said, you know, I'm not coming back here until I have somebody to represent me. And so I took that whistleblower hotline that he had given me, that notification he handed to all the employees, and I called the hotline. And so then I get a call from him telling me that he can provide 30 days of work for me. And he created a job for me where I sat at an office and I actually hand wrote some information that was already written on something that was typed. So he created a job for me. He had his attorney come in, Chris Ely, and Chris Ely came in and tried to do the whistleblower investigation. And they were asking for all my journals, for all my notes, for all my documentation of sexual harassment. and I refused to give it to him. And the attorney couldn't even look me in my eyes. And I told him, I said, you've got a supervisor here who's having an affair with his coworker. People are not doing their jobs. You've got people that are having heart attacks induced by supervisors. I just laid it all out, and the attorney couldn't even look me in my eyes. And after I wouldn't give them the information that they wanted, then I was returned back to they would not accommodate any further work for me. So they sent me back home with I
Was
wasn't
that
able to
hard,
work.
Tiffany? That must have been really hard to stand up to that lawyer like you did, because that whole situation must have been very intimidating for you.
It was. I was there. There were 19 technicians, and out of the 19 of us, there were three female technicians at the time. There were always three rotating technicians. I was one of three females, and I stayed for 9 years. And one was terminated. She was replaced with another. One left on her own. She left for a better job, and then those two were replaced. And the two that were replaced, they ended up marrying coworkers. So that's how they survived in the workplace, is that they just married into, the job, where I wasn't going to do that. And so, I was thinking back. I don't know if you saw the Skelly charges that my coworkers, it was notice of proposed disciplinary action, and this was after I filed the grand jury complaint and during the grand jury investigation. And I was accused of being wasteful of working time, dishonesty, I falsified records, and failure to observe work schedule. And they had about 5 employees that each gave a testimony against me, and I had to produce my phone. I didn't have to, but I did, because it showed that these people were liars. They were all lying. And even the entomologist who reports the West Nile state of emergency, he gave a testimony that was false in these Skelly charges. But that's what your coworkers will do to you, and that's what happened to me.
To keep their own job.
To keep their job, yes.
They're willing to throw you under the bus.
Correct.
Wow, that must have been a low point in your life after listening to all those people say those things about you.
It was, okay. I first got
I've
hired
just been there, and I think what it does is it hurts you when you see how people can be. It's not so much the actual attack on you. It's the fact that you see them for who they really are, that they're weak and they're willing to sell themselves like that. This was
the most hurtful thing that I think I can say happened to me on the job, and that was I started. There was a supervisor that got transferred my first year after being there, and he was considered the good supervisor, opposed to my supervisor who I had and was out in the field with me every day, who worked with me and taught me my job. But this other supervisor, the one who talked about bestiality, anal sex, oral sex, he sat there and he would do that on a daily basis, and he would make employees cry, and he would talk about their personal life, and just and so I walked out, and I started taking my breaks in the bathroom, and I started taking my breaks out in my car. And I just removed myself from that environment. And then I became a bigger target because I wasn't like the other people. But a group of my coworkers came, I was declared as a Christian. I declared myself as a Christian. And so I'd removed myself, and a group of guys came with me, and they started praying with me. And me and this group of guys, Scott, Tom, Brian, we all would pray in our every day, and I made little cards with all of the employees' names on them, and we would pray for all of our coworkers every day. And what happened was two of my I called them my brothers in Christ. after time and through after like 5 years of employment, they were promoted as my supervisors. And at this point, I was a whistleblower in the workplace. And so one of them was forced to try, they were going to use him to fire me. And he didn't know that I filed a sexual harassment complaint against the other supervisor. And they made him, they pulled us into an office one day, and it was the manager, the assistant manager, and now my supervisor. And the manager and the assistant manager had me, in this room, and they were forcing the supervisor, and they were like, they started talking about my attendance, and they just started talking about my work history. And this guy, he was my prayer partner. He was my friend. And I jumped up. I mean, I could see him. He was like, his arms were crossed. He'd just been promoted as supervisor. He was getting assistant supervisor. He was at assistant supervisor status. He wasn't even getting paid as a supervisor. He hadn't even been trained as a supervisor. And he didn't have an assistant, so he was already a person short without the knowledge. And he was sitting there, and you could hear him just breathing so heavy, like, oh my gosh, we're both going to lose our job. We're both going to lose our job. And at that moment, I stood up. That's when I called the whistleblower hotline. But I stood up, and I said, I told them everything that they had done that was illegal. And they sat there with their mouths open. And I said, and I'm not returning here until I come back with somebody to protect my interests. Because at that point, I just thought it was evil. You don't take a person and make them change their conviction. When my friend and I used to pray together, and now they're going to use that person.
It's like they purposely promoted him and then put him in that position because, like you said, it was like he didn't have an assistant, he didn't have the training, he just like was thrown in that position. It's almost like they used that to get him.
Absolutely. In fact, this was something that I really wanted to address because I had told you that all we had to do was look pretty as technicians, but see that was just half true, because the other half is the technicians, the ones who actually have to do their job, the ones that aren't sleeping with somebody to get to maintain their position, or the ones that aren't lying and backstabbing to keep their positions. They have to do all the work of the ones that aren't having to do their job, and so they have to work double time. They have to work twice or triple as hard. And what our manager was able to do during this time, this is what happened. I had a supervisor, the one that died, and he had been in like a 20-year war with them using union negotiations. And what they did was they drove out our union in 2009 and 2010, and they were able to this gave them the upper hand on the technicians. We no longer had any protections at all in the workplace. They removed them all. And they did that by,
and this has been a pattern all across the United States, Tiffany. I mean, you bring
absolutely.
a really important point, and just hearing your story, I'm believing that this is a story of many other workers across this country, not just Vector department workers, but many other workers that have been kind of left. And when you out there unprotected, and when you work for the government, I feel like it's even a stronger hold that they have on you because you're working for a government agency.
You know what? I do believe that I'm not really sure politically where you stand, but I've been thinking about this for a long time, and we have had attorneys as presidents for like 10 years, and they have been able to make laws that go against us and benefit them, and you're absolutely right.
Well, the new bill that they just passed, the farm bill, they're actually going to make it so like when cities pass laws that they don't want to have pesticide use in their city, they're going to make it illegal for cities, states, counties to pass any anti-pesticide laws whatsoever. And this is like really scary. They're forcing all of this stuff down people's throat. They're forcing us into these positions where we can't even get away anymore by passing these laws.
Do you know why do you know why they're taking California? This is why they're taking California, because California is a huge agriculture state, and it provides so much food for the whole country. And I keep hearing people say, give California away, and all I can think of is, you are giving your food away. That's all good.
So tell us, I was asking you, we only have a couple of minutes left.
Yeah. Okay.
But as a pesticide applicator, are there places that you guys spray where people are going to be coming to not long after that, or places where people frequent? And
Elaine, they spray everywhere. They spray by plane. I mean, it's Sac-Yolo and San Joaquin County have an agreement. They fly the borders. There's not anywhere when you say pesticide free or organic, there is no such thing, because we don't control our airspace.
I know the drift is to like coming on the organic, but at least they're not applying it there. So.
Right. No.
And it is testing. It tests like somewhere between 99%. But you're pointing out one of the most important things is the aerial spraying, to me, is like some of the worst.
We don't have a choice. We don't even have a choice in the matter, because it's being done whether we want it or not.
That was exactly what I wanted to hear. And that's why I am so glad to have you on our show, Tiffany. And I want to continue this conversation, because this is what we've had the show about. And this vector department thing is something so elusive, because when I went to the board meeting there, we were the first people to ever even show up to a board meeting. So that is telling me.
Elaine, I want
go
to
ahead.
tell you something. Okay, Channel 10 came into to our vector control, and they did they went in there because the board members had given themselves health care, and I had filed the whistleblower complaint, and there was, there were findings from the grand jury. Channel 10, you can't find the footage. Look for the footage where Channel 10 went into our vector control district and
I'm going to call Channel 10, and I'm going to try to. I'm going to ask them about that footage. What was the date?
I'll pull it.
Yeah, find me the date, and we'll see if we can have that footage for our next show. I'm going to see if I can get that from them.
It's disappeared. Anything that steps into those board meetings has.
I know we have to worry about our internet. Even I've found things that have disappeared, and they're hiding stuff on the internet as well. And that's why the library is actually. I'm starting to think. I think I'm going to start going back to the library. Because that was they're not lying over there like they are with the internet. Well,
that's why I pulled all those documents off, and I haven't gotten rid of them.
Well, you've done some really smart things, and I'm every single week I just see how brave you are and all the stuff that you've had to go through. And thank you for sharing all this with us, Tiffany, because it's so eye-opening. This is what we have to face. We are all being sprayed, and we cannot get away from it unless we start standing up and using our voices and fighting. And please support organic farmers, people, and buy local, buy from local farmers. Go to bluemonarchproject.com. Support our effort to bring the monarch butterflies back and educate people on how to not use.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, and now 102.3 FM.
Tell you that you're really funny, you have a great personality, and you should have your own talk show? Many of us have been told that, but we don't know how to get started. It's easier than you think. Let the pros at Cali Vegas give you a free talent evaluation. Call 949-445-1119 and learn how quickly you can create, produce, and host your very own talk show. Imagine not having to sit in traffic